All right, this is some good stuff. We finally got the video of JD Vance being confronted by pro-Ukraine protesters in Cincinnati this morning, and it's not nearly as dramatic as JD Vance made it out to be. He acted like they ambushed him, but it seems to be like a level-headed conversation, and I do want to break down the arguments being made on both sides so we understand where everybody stands. It started off this morning when JD Vance said, "Today, while walking my 3-year-old daughter, a group of Slavo-Ukraini protesters followed us around and shouted as my daughter grew increasingly anxious and scared. I decided to speak with the protesters in the hopes that I could trade a few minutes of conversation for them leaving my toddler alone. Nearly all of them agreed. It was a mostly respectful conversation, but if you're chasing a 3-year-old as a part of a political protest, you're a shit person." Now, we have no proof that they were chasing down his 3-year-old, but I will say this is off the back of hundreds of Ukrainian citizens dying because the U.S. stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine. Again, the U.S. stopped gathering intelligence on Russia and then relaying that intelligence to Ukraine, so the Ukrainians were left in the dark. They are now losing their negotiation power, and they are losing hundreds of civilians and people in the military, all because of the U.S. president and his vice president. So I think it's pretty valid to confront JD Vance. And listen, this is what democracy looks like, whether it's JD Vance getting confronted today in Cincinnati, whether it's the town halls that we've seen over the past few weeks, people asking valid questions to their representatives like, hey, why are you ceding so much power to Elon Musk when you are the one with the power of the purse? Or whether it's people protesting against Elon Musk with signs that say "Stop Musk" and "Protect democracy" and "No oligarchy." We even saw JD Vance get followed by protesters while he was skiing in Vermont. So again, this is what democracy looks like. Now, to play the clip that happened today, it all revolves around security guarantees. This entire debate essentially revolves around security guarantees. When Zelensky came to the Oval Office, he was open to taking the mineral deal, but he said, we need guarantees that Putin will not reinvade. He's invaded Chechnya, he's invaded Georgia, he's invaded Crimea. This is a man with imperial ambitions, and a piece of paper means nothing to him. International rule means nothing to him. So we have to stop him with security guarantees. That is what gives us leverage. But Donald Trump, who somehow doesn't understand negotiation, even though he wrote the art of the deal, thought that Zelensky was being disrespectful, and that's what this debate in this video centers around. These people are trying to relay to JD Vance that Putin is a bad faith actor, and you can't trust him. Now, I'm going to stop yapping. I'm going to play this clip. All that I ask is that you drop a like below, make sure you're subscribed below to help boost this message, and we'll break this clip down afterward.
We're forcing both the Russians and the Ukrainians.
Right here, won't settle.
Exactly. They certainly invaded Ukraine in 2022. But there needs to be a settlement. Ma'am?
They are the aggressor every time.
Ma'am, I understand that that's your view, and certainly they have, and certainly I have condemned, ma'am, please, you're interrupting. I'm speaking with you, and I'm trying to be respectful. I have condemned the invasion, but I've also condemned the perpetual. That is the policy of the administration. And I've talked to you guys now.
All right, JD Vance is being incredibly slippery. Let's break down a few things he said. Number one, when the lady points out that Putin has invaded Crimea, Georgia, Chechnya, he's a bad faith actor, JD Vance says, that's your opinion. And he tries to weasel out of it by saying, I condemn the war in 2022. No, that is not enough. You have said you don't care about the war. And then he tries to say at the end that he has tried to condemn the perpetual war. Well, the question that you ask is, who is waging the perpetual war? Who is the one that is waging the offensive war? Which party could just withdraw their troops and stop the fighting? It is Russia. Russia is unilaterally invading Ukraine. Ukraine did invade Kursk in a retaliatory way after 3 years of the war. That is not the same as Russia invading Ukraine proper and occupying it for 3 years. Actually occupying it for 10 years, 11 years now, because they invaded in 2014. So it's just insane that JD Vance tries to weasel out of it. I mean, I would say I respect him for stopping and like talking to people, But if you're just going to be that weaselly and slippery, you might as well not talk to people in the first place. We did see a pretty cool form of protest today. Supporters of Ukraine have unfurled the world's largest flag on the White House ellipse, pushing for the U.S. to continue its aid against the Russian invasion. Do not abandon Ukraine. And remember, I want you to remember, the U.S. was the only country at the UN to vote against a resolution declaring the International Day of Hope. Even Ukraine and Russia, North Korea and South Korea, and Israel and Lebanon could agree on it. A clip from friend of the show, Jake Auchincloss. We talked to him on our DC live stream the other day. Who was there for the DC live stream? That was some fun stuff. Here's him talking about Ukraine and what's at stake.
Ukraine and Russia policy has been turned on its head. I know that you're one of the people who has been continuous in their advocacy for support of Ukraine. In your conversations on committees, what are people saying about the way that this conflict will continue to unfold, given the way that Trump has upended the landscape on it?
That Oval Office exchange and the actions that have followed, cutting off intelligence and military support to Ukraine, is one of the most shameful episodes in the history of the modern American presidency. We know Trump is very transactional. We know that he's selling out Ukraine. The question is, who's buying Trump? And this needs to be, I think, aligned with the fact that when he took office, he issued a meme coin. And that meme coin is now probably about 90% of his net worth. And it allowed foreign adversaries to buy up the presidency with zero insight or accountability from any member of the American public, the media, members of Congress.
Yep.
I would virtually guarantee you that not just the Kremlin, but also the Chinese Communist Party, the Saudis, the Qataris, the Turks have all bought the Trump meme coin. They all now have a stake in Donald Trump's presidency.
He's incredibly right. He said something similar while we were talking in D.C., but that is what we're seeing. And J.D. Vance is just an instigator. And J.D. Vance is just an instigator who is being incredibly bad faith. And the worst part is, J.D. Vance is actually rather well-spoken and able to slip his way around and act like he knows what he's talking about when he really doesn't. Nobody in the Trump administration has demonstrated any ability to understand what's going on the ground in Ukraine. And the thing is, there are actually a few people who, before they got into office, were hawkish on Ukraine. There are multiple people in the Trump administration who I have heard say on the record, we should have been stronger on Ukraine. Ukraine should have gone harder on Russia, F Russia, but for some reason Trump is guiding the way, and he's guiding his entire admin in a pro-Russia way. I genuinely want to know, what are your guys' theories for that? During this last few seconds of the video, let me know in the comments. Some people think that Trump is bought out by Russia, or that Russia has certain dirt on him. I don't quite believe the P-tapes, but I do believe that Trump's ego attracts him to certain types of dictators. I do believe that Trump has a type of narcissism that means he's attracted to people with power, or people with absolute power over a country. That is why he's writing love letters to Xi Jinping. That is why he fawns over people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and Viktor Orban, because he just likes the idea of power. I'm not sure there are actually P-tapes. That seems to be sort of more like a meme, but I do want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comment section below. And most importantly, have a great rest of your day. I appreciate every single one of you. We've had an amazing past few weeks. We hit 1 million. We went to DC, and that was all because of you guys. So have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Peace out.